Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you're here as well, I don't want to exclude the gentlemen, but I cater to the ladies. Hey, happy January 25th. It is Monday night. It is about 6:24, and I was just finishing up my workday and switching to do some Carolina cruising motorcycle coaching work. And I just wanted to come on here. I had a few things I wanted to share. Um, so first of all, I just want to start with saying I realize that I have all of these shirts that say blessed girl on them, and that the last two videos that I recorded was blessed girl shirts. So one was like a light gray, one was like a navy blue, and then this is kind of like I don't know, it's like a bluish gray, like a slate. And I just love these shirts. I have to say, they have like a really cool graphic on the back and they're long sleeve, which I love because my office gets a little bit cold. I unfortunately, in the room that is the office in my house, we have the hatch to the attic in this room, and it's not very well insulated. So this room gets a little chilly. So I actually have a space heater that I keep on. And I could wear a sweatshirt, but I don't know. Sometimes sweatshirts just get too bulky. So I just kind of really love I love the long sleeve shirt. And honestly, like I'm the type that when I see something I like, I'll buy like if it's in 10 colors, I'll buy all 10 colors. Um, which is pretty much what I did with the Blessed Girl shirts. Now they all come in different colors and they all say something different on the back. Maybe later I'll take a picture of what this one says on the back and share it. But um, I probably have about maybe 6 or 7 of these in different colors. So yeah, they're super comfortable. And like I said, working from home, like I love to work in these. They're just really comfortable and they keep me warm without being too bulky. Okay. So with that being said, I wanted to move on to a couple of things. So as you know, I had created and released my schedule for 2021. I just had to go back in my schedule for the last week of July and the first 2 weeks of August. And I had to either delete or reschedule a bunch of trainings that I had scheduled. Now, luckily, nobody has been signed up for those yet. I mean, they're way out, they're end of July, first 2 weeks of August. So nobody was scheduled, so I didn't mess anybody up. But I want to talk a little bit about why I had to do that. And I want to talk a little bit about opportunity and taking chances. So obviously, I run a motorcycle coaching school for women. I always say I'll train men too if they want to come work with me, but I'm going to warn you, I'm going to treat you like a woman, and I hope that I don't break you, okay? Because women are really tough. Um, so I know men need a little bit of a more gentle touch. No, I'm really just kidding. But in all seriousness, so of course I run a motorcycling school mostly for women, and I also do some guided tours. So I do some tours for beginner riders, and then I just do tours for anybody who would like someone to guide and lead them to different places. So I announced I already had some of those lined up for this coming year. Um, but one of the things that I know a lot of people struggle with is, and one of the things I focus on is new rider training. So I've got training for everybody, new riders, experienced riders, intermediate riders, and I do a lot of focus on the beginner rider. Um, so I will tell you right now that this video that I'm making now is more geared towards the rider or the woman who wants to learn to ride and has hesitations for whatever reason. And I'm actually involved in a health and fitness boot camp of a friend of mine right now, a 6-week boot camp. Um, and she's a really good friend of mine, and she motivates me even outside the boot camp, but definitely inside the boot camp. She kind of motivates me and reminds me, to live my life to the fullest, um, and to not let anything hold me back. Um, and that's real important. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today is what we talk about, or what she's talked to us about in our boot camp, is self-limiting beliefs. And so I'm sure all of you know what that is. So basically, self-limiting beliefs are kind of, I call them stories that we tell ourselves to talk ourselves out of things that we're afraid of, right? I mean, in a nutshell, you could say it any way you want. That's how I describe it. Self-limiting beliefs are things that we come up with and say, well, I can't do that because fill in the blank. Um, Sometimes things scare us. And I know for me, there are times where I've made self-limiting beliefs because it is an excuse, because I didn't want to admit that I was scared and I was too wussy to do it. And it's easier to just come up with some kind of valid excuse so people don't think less of you, right? Isn't that why we do that a lot of the times? Or even to make ourselves feel better and about ourselves and not feel guilty for not pursuing a dream. So I will tell you, I totally understand, like totally understand some of the hesitation and self-limiting beliefs that go along with riding a motorcycle. Um, Things I've heard, actually just heard this recently, not as somebody telling an excuse, but just somebody informing me, letting me know that they're only 5'1" and that they're super short. Um, and that was not a limiting belief. I think that was just her sharing information with me, which I appreciated. And what I shared with her is there is a motorcycle for everybody. I don't care if you're 5 foot. I know people that are 4'11" who ride. You can ride a motorcycle. Now, if you're shorter than 4'11", I can't guarantee that you can ride a motorcycle with a hefty, huge, gigantic pair of elevator boots. But for the average woman who's 5 foot to 5'4", I am 5'4", um, or I once was 5'4", and I don't often like to admit it, but I'm shrinking. And I think at this point, I'm really, if I'm being honest, I'm probably only 5'3", but I still say that I'm 5'4". Plus, I have a 2-inch platform motorcycle boot that I ride in, which of course makes me 5'6". Well, I guess technically 5'5" if I'm only 5'3". But um, I do have a regular pair of motorcycle boots that I wear on one of my bikes, and I can touch the ground pretty much flat-footed on that bike, and it is a big 800cc. My new bike I bought that is a 1700, a little bit different story. It's a little bit taller bike because it's a 1700 and the engine is taller. So the bike's a little bit taller off the road. So I do wear my 2-inch platform boots on that bike and I do not touch with my full foot. So, but that's okay. That is not a limitation in riding. Um, so I just want to say, I don't care how tall you are. I don't care how short you are. I don't care any characteristic about you. There is nothing about you that will not allow you to learn how to ride a motorcycle. Um, so self-limiting beliefs hold us back. So I want to share with you some self-limiting beliefs that I recently had. Um, well, wait, let me pause for a second. Let me go back. Let's continue to talk about self-limiting beliefs for the beginner rider. And I'm sorry I got off track. But my self-limiting beliefs when I first started riding were same kind of thing. I'm too weak to hold up a motorcycle. I had sat on some motorcycles that are really heavy. My brother rides. All of his motorcycles were too big for me, but I always thought that that's what motorcycles were like, that they were just really tall. Um, and I hadn't done the research to find out that that wasn't true. I just told myself you can't ride. I also was not really encouraged to ride by my mom. Of course, she loves me. She doesn't want anything to happen to me. She thinks motorcycles are extremely dangerous. She never loved that my brother rode since he's 17 years old, but she still let him have a motorcycle anyway. I was not allowed to have a motorcycle while I was living under her roof, which was kind of a double standard. But whatever. Um, it is what it is. So I did not get a motorcycle until I moved out from her house. And I apologize. My dog is going crazy out in the hallway, so you might hear her barking. Um, so apologies for that. But so because my mom did not think I should be on a motorcycle, that was some of my self-limiting beliefs is I can't ride because, my mom's going to be upset with me and she's going to be disappointed in me. And it's like, wait a minute, that might be true, but and I don't want to say who cares because she's my mom and I love her, but at the end of the day, it's my life, right? So some of my other limiting beliefs were money. Like I don't, at the time that I started riding and bought a motorcycle, so I was 31. I was living in an apartment that I really was struggling to afford because I didn't want to live in a basement in someone's house. I wanted something nicer. So I got something nicer that I really was struggling to make ends meet. My significant other did move in with me at that point. So at least I was sharing the rent with somebody else. And this is back in like, I think we're talking about 2007. Um, so, but I still thought, well, I can't buy a motorcycle. They're so expensive. It's more maintenance, it's registration, it's, insurance. Imagine motorcycle insurance is so expensive. Did I ever look into it? No, I just assumed. Um, I struggle with my weight. I mean, that's no secret. Anybody who knows me or works with me knows that that's something that I'm constantly trying to work on. And so at that time, I thought, well, I'm too big to ride. I look stupid, and all these things, and just so many self-limiting beliefs. Because I lived in the apartment, and it was not an apartment complex. I lived um, in an apartment off the side of someone's house. Another limiting belief was, where am I going to keep it? My landlady is going to kill me when I tell her I'm getting a motorcycle, and she's never going to let me keep this in the driveway. So where am I going to keep it? I'm going to have to get a storage unit for it, and that's more money I don't have. And how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And then the motorcycling school. So when I lived in New York, it was probably a 6 to 7 month wait for the motorcycle safety foundation class. And I had decided I was going to learn to ride at that point. Or I really had started to talk myself into it, got, some of those other self-limiting beliefs. Um, but there was a 6 month waiting list. And I'm like, I'm not waiting 6 months. Like, it's April. I want to get riding. I want to learn to ride. I want to ride this summer. And so I found a guy, by divine intervention. I was at I don't know, some kind of festival, street fair or whatever. And there was a guy by the name of Steve. I'll never forget him. Great, great guy who actually, he lives in North Carolina now as well. Um, he lives over by the Mooresville area, like Charlotte, kind of over there. Um, Great, great guy who had this motorcycling school called, I think it was called On the Road Again. He has since sold it, and I think now it is a motorcycle safety class, or basic rider class supported training. But back then it wasn't. He was just on the road again. He gave private lessons, and they were expensive. So I was like, well, how, now I've got to buy a motorcycle, and I've got to insure it, and I have to do this and that. And now I have to pay for this class. Well, I don't remember where I came up with the money for all this. I really don't. It's 15 years ago or so, and I just don't remember that far back. But I will say motorcycles do not have to be expensive. If you know what you're looking for, and know how to bargain. I found a motorcycle that was 2 years old. It was a Honda Shadow Ace 750. The Ace was the American Classic Edition. It was only, sorry, it was 4 years old. It was a 4-year-old motorcycle. It had about 1,100 miles on it, so it's practically like brand new, barely even broken in awesome condition, except it didn't really run right because the woman who bought it, didn't like riding, let it sit for like 3 seasons. She lived in upstate New York. She kept, like, every winter she winterized it because it lived out in her shed in the backyard. So she was putting, winterizing, stuff in the tank, but not running it through. So the carburetors got all gunked up, and my brother had come with me to look at it, and she was asking, I think she was asking $2,800 for it. So I was sort of saying motorcycles don't have to be that expensive. I mean, if you're buying a Harley, a brand new Harley, I mean, depending on what you're buying, I mean, that could be $17,000, $20,000, $30,000, $15,000, whatever. When you're buying Hondas and Yamahas and Suzukis, those are great, great motorcycles, and they don't cost a fortune, especially if you're buying them used. Especially if you're buying an older motorcycle. Those Japanese motorcycles will run forever, especially if you take care of them. Um, I had that Honda Shadow for almost 10 years before I sold it, and I had not one problem with that motorcycle, not ever. Never, ever, ever. My brother had said to me, offer this woman $2,000 for this motorcycle. Tell her you don't know what's wrong with it. You don't know what kind of money you're going to have to invest to get it running. He said to me, I'm sure that the carburetors are just gunked up, and you're just going to have to bring it in, have the carbs cleaned, and that's going to be the end of it. So I offered the woman $2,000. She did not negotiate back with me. She's like, okay. So I bought the bike for $2,000. My brother put it on his pickup truck. We brought it back to his house when he lived in Connecticut, and I lived on Long Island. And then, that was the end of it. Got the carburetors cleaned. That was it. That was all that was wrong with the bike. Carburetors. I think it cost me maybe $180 to get the carburetors cleaned. Eventually I got the bike back to Long Island. My brother drove it down to the Port Jet ferry for me. And we took it over the Long Island Sound back to Long Island. And I rode it back home from Port Jeff, which I live about maybe a half hour, 25 minutes from the Port Jet ferry. So I know most of you probably have no idea what the Port Jet ferry is, or Bridgeport ferry on the other side and Port Jet ferry on the Long Island side. But I got the bike home, and I was in the process of taking my class, and I would take the bike to just close by school parking lots, and I would just practice, practice, practice. And I got over every single limiting belief. I paid for the class. I bought the bike. You know how much it costs to insure a bike? Um, Depending on the bike. First of all, I will say right now I have four motorcycles insured. And I think for all four of them, it cost me something like 200 and something for the year. So two of my training bikes only cost me I think one cost me $50 to insure for the year. The other one cost me, I think, 30 or $40 to insure for the year. And my other two motorcycles are bigger. Those are like my motorcycles. One's a Suzuki 800. The other one's a Kawasaki Vulcan 1700. And those are a little bit more expensive, but they're affordable. So I bought the motorcycle, I insured it, I paid for the class. I asked my landlady, I let her know, hey, I'm learning to ride, I'm going to buy a motorcycle. Is it okay if I store it here? And I don't know what she was thinking on the inside. She might have been like, oh, please, come on. Seriously, because after I moved in and I was there a year, then I asked her if somebody could move in with me. And so she said yes to that. And that other person came with a dog. I already had a dog and a cat. So, she was very gracious. I think that, she liked me as a tenant because I was a good tenant. I was quiet. I paid my rent, didn't bother her and her kids. And I think she wanted me to stay. So she probably didn't want to say yes to all those things, but she did. Um, and she let me keep my motorcycle on her driveway, right? I parked it right in front of where I parked my car. And, everything worked out. So, for so long, I had all these self limiting beliefs, but yet I was able to make those dreams come true once I decided to do it and put it into motion. So now I want to get back to another self limiting belief that I had recently, because of course we still have them, right? So I've gotten past so many things, even self-limiting beliefs about starting my motorcycle business, which I have wanted to do this for years and years. I mean, some of the self-limiting beliefs around that was, how am I going to afford to buy training motorcycles? And of course I did. And then it was like, well, I need a trailer to trail them. And can I afford that? And where am I going to store it? And, all these self-limiting beliefs once again. But of course I have my motorcycle trailer and I've got my training bikes. And, if you want to do something, you can. We can make excuses all day. But if you really want to do something, you will find a way to make it happen, and you can find a way to make it happen. I don't care if money is an issue. I don't care if time is an issue. It's all about what your priorities are, and if you really, really want to do something. And if you are having self-limiting beliefs, I challenge you to change your narrative. I say positive affirmations every single day, and I am talking positivity into my life. I am speaking intention into my life, to make the things that I want to happen come true, so that I can get to my deathbed, hopefully many, 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 many years from now, and not have any regrets. And even if I get to my deathbed not in many years from now, I mean, of course I want to live a long life, but I will still have no regrets, because for the time that I've been here, I'm living the life that I want to live, right? I'm not making excuses. I'm doing what I want to do. So here's another example of a recent self-limiting belief. So I went to the Women's Freedom Ride Fall Getaway last September. I'd always heard of the Women's Freedom Ride, and every year they do a cross country trip. And last summer I was like, man, I want to do that trip so bad. I better go to this fall getaway and get to know some of these women and see what this is all about. And I had the greatest weekend. I met so many fantastic people. I connected on Facebook with them. I stayed in touch with many of them. And I was planning on doing the 18-day cross country tour this June. I had asked for the time off from work. I got approved for 3 weeks. So that was a self-limiting belief in the beginning. Like, how am I going to get 3 weeks off from work? Well, I did. And then it was, well, how am I going to get the money for this? I don't even know what it's going to cost. Hotel, food, gas. And of course, you share hotels with people. You might have four women sharing a hotel room to keep costs down. But so I knew that there was a way to do it, and I was planning on doing it. And then this little thing called doubt crept into my mind, and I just thought, I shouldn't be doing this. I should not be doing this trip. I don't know why, but all of a sudden I felt really irresponsible. I've got two kids. I support a household. Um, and I felt selfish and I felt irresponsible. So I made the decision that maybe this wasn't the year to do this. Maybe I need to wait till the kids are a little bit older. And so I decided I wasn't going to do the trip. I told my boss, hey, I'm not taking those 3 weeks off. I used up a lot of my vacation at the end of the year, so I didn't carry over enough vacation that I would have needed to carry to take those 3 weeks off and get paid for them, because I wouldn't have enough vacation accrued by June to take those 3 weeks off. So I had to carry over like a week. Um, so I used up that vacation at the end of the year to take 2 weeks off of Christmas, and so because I didn't think I was going to need it. So last week, sometime or over the weekend. It was either Friday. I think it was Friday. So on Friday, all of a sudden I get a message from one of the women that I met at the Women's Freedom Ride in September. I don't know her that well. We became friends on Facebook. Have gotten to know her a little bit through there. We chatted a little bit at the Women's Freedom Ride. She was super nice. One of those people you just meet and like right away, you're at ease with them. They're just regular, down to earth people that you just kind of have you click with a little bit. Um, so she was really cool. And like I said, we chatted just a very little bit. Her sister was there on the Freedom Ride with her. Um, but oh, wait, let me just say one thing. I decided not to go on the Women's Freedom Ride this summer and was mad at myself for talking myself out of it. And then the ride got canceled anyway. So there is no cross country Women's Freedom Ride this year. So I just wanted to say that. Anyway, so my friend that I met at the fall getaway sends me a message on Friday, after we had a little, conversation on a post that I shared on Facebook, just about our shared passion for photography, and yet how we both kind of lost that passion. Like I kind of lost my passion for photography, which I want to mention. This behind me is a picture I took, of a trip that I went on to, Virginia, just a day long trip up into the Virginia mountains and down through North Carolina and back home. This is the Lover's Leap overlook in Virginia on Route 58. Beautiful road. I actually have a tour, a 1 day guided tour that I'll be doing this summer. That's going to take us to this very spot and have lunch, up in Virginia and then down the Blue Ridge Parkway and back into North Carolina. So it's going to be a great ride. So keep your eye out for that. Um, anyway, so my friend contacted me after we had this discussion about photography, because I had said something about, what maybe what we need is a cross country trip to see this great country, to re-inspire our passion for photography. So all of a sudden, I get a message from her saying that her and her sister are actually doing, a ride to Glacier National Park and Yellowstone Park, the end of July, and they're going for 3 weeks, and they wanted to invite me along. So right away, I'm like, whoa, like how cool is that? That's really cool. At the time, I knew they were going to Glacier. I did not know they were going to Yellowstone. So I said to her, like, knee jerk reaction right away. I said, hey, thank you so much. I would love to go more than anything, but I don't think it's possible. And as I'm writing it, I'm kind of writing it thinking, like, what are you, an idiot? Like, take some time to think about it. But I kind of responded, and then I ended it with, but let me think about it. So sent the email, and of course it was on my mind, like from that time on, from Friday on, just living up in my head. So I think either later that night or the next day, I can't remember, I said, hey, you mentioned you had an itinerary, can you send that to me? Now I do want to mention, of course, that I live in North Carolina. These two lovely ladies live up in northern Michigan. And so here are some of my self-limiting beliefs. Here's the dialogue in my head. One, shoot, I did not day vacation. I didn't carry any vacation over. I carried like 5 hours over. Um, if this is at the end of July, I'll only have 2 full weeks accrued at that point, to take vacation. And they'll never let me go now because I'll have to take a week without pay, if they even let me do that. And oh my God, a week without pay like that, I can't do that. This is going to be like, a couple of $1,000s to go on this trip. I certainly can't go a week without pay. And well, these friends of mine live up in Michigan. So, that's like a 2-day trip for me. I mean, in a car, that's a 2-day trip for me in a car to get to where I would need to meet them. That's like not even to get to them. Like to get to them was like, I think something like 1,700 miles, um, to meet up with them, like where they live. Or 18, I think it was 1,800 miles. And I'm like, there's no way, even in 2 days in a car, how am I, to trail my bike up, that can't happen. All right. So that was that self-limiting belief. So it was work, it was the time off, it was the how am I going to get up there? It's at least 2 days up, 2 days back. So this is a 3-week trip. Now I've got to add 4 days onto it. Like, how is this going to happen? This can't happen. Do I have, the money to do this? Um, yeah, between work and doing motorcycle coaching throughout the summer, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. But, the other, speaking of motorcycle coaching, the other thing was, well, I just scheduled this whole year. I just scheduled an entire year of motorcycle lessons. I just shared it. I put it in my scheduling software. And, I can't, what am I going to do with all those trainings? Of 3 weeks worth of trainings that I'm going to have to cancel. I've got an overnight tour scheduled during that time, to the mountains. That's going to be a great trip. And, I can't go. I can't go. I can't even tell you some of the other stupid dialogues that I had going on in my head, telling me all the reasons why I couldn't go on this trip. And then I decided to turn it around and to stop with all the self-limiting beliefs and to stop telling myself all the stories. And I decided to look at what I could do. So I decided that, one, where work is concerned, I would just ask my boss and say, listen, an opportunity came around again. I didn't carry enough vacation over. Can I take a week without pay? If she says no, job, right? I mean, I've worked at it 7 years, but there's other jobs. Do I want a job to stop me from doing once in a lifetime? Maybe not once in a lifetime, but do I want a job to stop me from living my life and doing something really amazing? I mean, I'm just saying. So no. The answer is no. I would go anyway. I would go anyway. So to me, it's like it didn't really matter. It doesn't matter what the answer is. I'm actually going to speak to her tomorrow about it. It doesn't matter what the answer is. I'm still going. I've got to ask, but regardless, I'm going on this trip. So roadblock one removed out of the way. The next thing that I was telling myself was my training schedule. Well, I just scheduled all these trainings. What am I going to do? Well, I'm like, well, it's this trip is, July 25th to, August 15th. Nobody's signed up for anything yet. So I can cancel a few. I can move some for after I get back. I can just shift things around. So when I really sat down to look at my schedule that I created, all of a sudden I saw all these opportunities to clear that time off my calendar. And I freed up 3 weeks for myself. I only canceled 2 trainings, out of those 3 weeks, and everything else I was able to move to a different time slot. Either before I went away or after I went away, a few things I had scheduled for a weekend, I scheduled for a weeknight for when after work. So where there is a will, there's a way. But the other self-limiting belief was, wow, this is an expensive trip, and should I really be doing this? I support a family. Is this the right thing to do? And my significant other said, do it, do it. This is a once in a lifetime thing. So I got her blessing, which was good, which was kind of one of my things of like, oh, she's going to be mad at me. But she wasn't. She encouraged me to go do it. But there was still that guilt around money. I'm going to stay in all these hotels. how am I going to pay for this? Is like 22 nights in hotels, all the gas money, food, 3 meals out a day, unless I'll probably wind up trying to pack some like oatmeal and stuff for myself just to have in the mornings. So that there's ways to get around things. Um, and then my friend sent me the itinerary, and I was looking it over, and I knew at that point, as I had started already to get past some of these self-limiting beliefs, I knew that I had to go on this trip because not only were we going to Glacier National Park, we were going to Yellowstone, as I mentioned, and then I looked on the itinerary and saw that we were taking a road through an area called Beartooth Pass in Montana, which I think Montana into Wyoming. And here's the funny thing. To me, that was like God. That was divine intervention because I never heard about Beartooth Pass before. And it's a very famous motorcycle road. Um, but a month ago, I was just doing, kind of some research about just trips. I always like to look up trips. And I wound up coming across a video on YouTube about this guy's trip through Beartooth Pass. And I'm like, what is this? Where is this? And it was amazing. The views, you're at like 11,000 foot elevation, which is a little scary to me because I've been at 6,000 and 8,000 feet. At 8,000 feet, I felt like I had an elephant sitting on my chest. Like breathing was kind of hard. At 6,000 feet when I was in Denver, I definitely was struggling with headaches, which I know you have to stay hydrated. So I was a little bit nervous for like 11,000 feet. Like, what is that going to feel like? Am I going to pass out while I'm riding? But I'm watching these videos and like nobody's passing out. So I'm sure I'll be fine. But I was like, how cool. Like, how can I ever get to Montana to ride this road? And all of a sudden, here I am. A month later, I've got an itinerary in my hand that a friend sent me where they're going to Montana and they're riding Beartooth Pass, right? Then from there, they're looping back around into South Dakota and they're going to Mount Rushmore, which I've always wanted to see. So that was just more confirmation for me that I had to do anything, whatever it was, I had to do whatever I needed to do to make this trip happen. So then I kind of asked them about hotels. I saw that they had some hotels that they were planning on staying on the itinerary. They weren't camping, they were doing hotels. And I looked up one of the hotels and it was a lodge and it was a little bit expensive for the night. And I thought, oh my God, if all the hotels are this much money, how am I going to pay for this? And I don't want to be like a party pooper and say, listen, I got to stay at different hotels because I can't afford this. Not to say that every hotel they're going to reserve is going to be that. And my friend said to me, I should say acquaintance, becoming friend, um, oh, you could share the room with us. We don't mind sharing. And I was like, really? Like for 3 weeks? Like you're gonna let somebody who you hardly know share a hotel room with you? And they were like, yeah, like of course. So gracious and so kind and so welcoming. Um, I mean, again, uh, a whole other topic, just the power of kindness. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the invitation. I'm so grateful for them inviting me to stay in the same hotel rooms with them so that the three of us can share the cost and bring that cost of that trip down. Then I saw on Facebook Marketplace, I was looking for a new travel bag for my motorcycle. And the one I bought that I used last year, I don't like it. It's not, you can pack a lot in it, but I didn't like how it attached to my motorcycle. It wasn't like easy to get on and off, and it was a pain. So on a trip like this, where we're going to be staying somewhere every night, and my bag has to come on and off my bike every single day, I wanted something, one that was big enough to pack enough clothes. Of course, we'll do laundry along the way. But I also wanted something that was easy on, easy off. And I'm like, well, what is that going to be? And so I start researching bags and I come across this bag on Facebook Marketplace, like the second bag I look at, it's like a Saddleman bag. And I'm like, yeah, that looks good. I don't, you can't tell the size. So I contact the woman. She's asking $80 for this bag. I have no idea about the bag. And I'm like, $80. I guess that's not a bad price. So I asked her, hey, can you send me pictures of the inside? Can you send me pictures of the back so I could see how it attaches to the bike? And she said, yeah, I'm at work right now, but when I get home, I can try to do that. And in the meantime, I'm like, you idiot, you know what it is. I found it, on Pinterest, and then I found it on Amazon. So you know the name of it, you know the model. And I went to a YouTube video and looked it up. And let me tell you something. This is a nice freaking bag. This bag has, it's like a suitcase, really, much, much bigger than the travel bag I have now. And when I looked at it, I'm like, this bag is amazing. All these pockets on and off the bike really easily. It's got a shoulder strap that you can add to it so you can easily carry it, where the other bag I have was just not easy to carry. And I went and looked at the price of this bag brand new, and this was a $250 bag that this woman was selling for 80 bucks. Well, all right, she was all the way out in Lexington, North Carolina. It took us an hour and a half to get there. It was really the middle of nowhere. Um, I almost ran out of gas in my car because we got out there and I was running a little bit late and I didn't realize there would not be any gas stations anywhere near her. So it was definitely an adventure, but I got the bag. So, I mean, this is just an example of like when you set an intention to do something, you'll just be amazed at how things start coming together. I don't want to get all like religious, but I do believe in God, and even if it's not God for you, a power, a higher power, some kind of force that, I mean, look at this beautiful world we live in. There has to be some kind of greater force, that creates that. For me, it's God. And, when we set an intention and we stop telling ourselves all that I can't because of this and I can't because of that, um, look at the amazing things that we can manifest into our lives, right? Um, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do this trip. And yet it all just came together. Like it's only Monday. I just found out about this trip Friday, and I have figured out so many things already, and I have made this work for me. And God has kind of helped to have a hand in it for me, which I'm so grateful for. So I've talked forever. I have no idea how long this recording is. I've probably lost all of my audience by now. If you're rewatching this, that's okay, because you know what? This message is intended for a very, very special person. I don't know who that person is, but there's going to be a person who's going to listen to this whole thing and it's going to change her life. And I hope that person is you. I hope you've stayed on. I hope you've listened. I hope that you have realized that you have self-limiting beliefs. If you're not sure, just write down, why are you not taking motorcycle lessons? Is it something you really want to do? And write down what's stopping you. And then start to look at each of those things and ask yourself if it's an excuse or if it's a real reason. Because if you really want to do something, you can make anything that you want happen. You can make it happen. You can do anything you set your mind to. So again, if you've stuck with me this far, if you have stayed on watching this video for this long, and you might be the only person who has, please reach out to me. If it's to do nothing other than to just talk to me and ask questions and find out more about motorcycling and how you can make it happen for you. I really, really, really hope and pray that you'll do this for yourself. Motorcycling has changed my life. I have met people that I never would have met otherwise. I have had experiences that I never would have had. I have seen sights that without motorcycling, I never would have seen. And I'm going to continue to have those adventures. And, those are the things you spend money on. Now, of course, you're spending money on a motorcycle and gear, but really what you're spending money on is an experience. You can buy anything you want, all this material stuff, but you know, none of that stuff's going to bring you happiness. It's experience that brings you happiness. Getting out and experiencing the world, seeing the world, having adventure. That's what life is all about. Life is to be lived. Don't live the same day 75 times and call it a life. So come on, reach out and call me. You know who I am. You know this is Carolina Cruisin'. You know this is Debbie. So I hope that you will reach out to me. I hope that we can talk, and I hope and pray that I have the opportunity to work with you this summer to help you make the most amazing life that you never thought possible, but always dreamed of. So give me a call. I'll see you soon.